Hey, what is up, guys? Blunt Guts here. This is a Watch Your Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. Today, we are going to take a look at the Master of Disaster, the Ender of Worlds, the Platform Destroyer. You may know him as the Garnet Guard. He is the Season 5 Demon Soldier, and I don't have him, but you know who does have him is Zacharias Fox. Big shout out to Zacharias. He did reach out to me after my last video, and he let me know that he had gotten enough fragments to pull this Demon Soldier, and he was nice enough to let me hop onto his account. So thank you so much, my man. I really do appreciate it, and I think the community probably appreciates it as well. So show him some love. I've structured this video as follows. So I'm going to start off with a kind of breakdown of the Garnet Guard himself. I'm going to go and look at his skills, and we're going to kind of talk through that quickly. And I'm hoping to set kind of a baseline for this Demon Soldier so that we can get an idea of what we should expect, I guess, when we do the testing. After that, I am going to move on to testing some of the most common defenses that I see both in the new tower map as well as the old tower map, which is now the Central Keep map. I'm going to start off with right side defenses on the new tower map, followed by left side defenses, and then we'll take a look at the three most common defenses that I do see in the Central Keep as well. We're going to test placements and see which of these defenses is going to hold up to this new unit. Are we going to need to adjust our positioning at all, and find out which tiles are vulnerable? Before we get to the testing, I do want to take a look at the Demon Soldier himself. Let's go through his skills real quick. Let's talk about some of the kind of the highlights of his kit as far as the way that he is built and the way his stats are structured. So let's take a look at the sniping passive right here. First, prioritizes attacking the nearest platform target. What I will say, and I'm going to show this in the map, is that while this does seem to be true when he is pathing around freely, when he is blocked, he does stick on a ground unit, so he's not going to continue tossing boulders at platform units if he is standing in front of a tank or a fighter or anything like that. So when he does kind of get his block gets taken up, or I should say the ground unit's block is taken up by him, he is going to stick on that ground unit and not sit there and continue to attack platform targets. That is important to understand. It means that he's not going to just, you know, you can't set him against a tank and have him just sit there and be a turret that he's going to spin around and attack everybody in range. You do have to be mindful of the as far as how defenses are structured and things like that. So that is something to keep in mind. See what else we got here. Granite armor, a creature composed of granite, reduces physical damage taken by 15%. So that's obviously going to be important. More vulnerable to magic. As you can see, his magic resistance is a C. His defense is an A. Plus, he's got this extra 15% passive. So what that really means is that, you know, physical damage is not really going to be his weakness. But then again, you also we'll look at the details and see where his defense actually sits right now and get an idea of how tanky he is actually going to be. But I don't know that this is really going to come into play. I think that he is ultimately going to be kind of a glass cannon to a certain degree, but we'll check and we'll see and we'll find out. And then at level 5, he is going to get an extra 15% defense, which means he will become more resistant to physical attacks at level 5. We're a long way off from that, obviously. Nobody is going to get him to level 5 in this season when he is put into the loot table for one of the different gear raids after this season. Then we'll probably start thinking about getting that extra 15% defense, making him a little bit tankier. So let's take a look first off at the affiliation here. So I do have him affiliated to Zacharias Fox's Uridin, who very impressively, he's got at 114k battle power at A0, which is honestly higher than I have mine. I think I probably can get there, but my Ingrid actually has my best gear, so I'd have to kind of finagle things to see if I couldn't get mine that high, but he's kind of, I guess, reinstilled a desire to go back and review my BP right now. I kind of, you know, I find what I find is the best, and I don't have a lot of patience for going through and like individually changing everything, but that is probably what I should do. So very impressive BP on him. One thing I will note, and one thing that Zacharias did tell me when we were discussing this before he let me hop onto his account, he does not have a like high affiliation lord like an A5 Praetus or like my Ingrid at A3 goes up to 106k. He does have a Valderon. I didn't check and see exactly what the BP would be on that, but I think the disparity is going to be large enough because that Valderon is at A0 that ultimately the Uridin is going to be the highest affiliation for this Garnet Guard. So we are going to be looking at a pretty beefy Garnet Guard. Probably not. You know, there are people out there with really developed accounts or who've gotten really lucky with some of their heroes that would probably be able to produce a higher damage Garnet Guard. But I think that 114k Uridan is more than sufficient to provide kind of like a high-end baseline as far as how hard we can expect this hero to hit. So we're gonna go into the testing with that in mind. Let's take a look at the attributes here and just take a look and see how he is built. So keeping in mind again that this is affiliated to 114k battle power Uridan, 1.3 million HP. He's got a little under 13k attack, which is kind of low, honestly. You see, like a level 5 plus Axolotl is going to have somewhere in the range of like 35 to 40k attack, which is crazy. This is like, you know, a third of that basically. So pretty steep drop off there. Now, you know, this is only one part of the equation. I think there's multipliers involved and things like that, but it is something we got to keep in mind, obviously. Defense, so despite that increased defense, he is only at about 12k defense, which is not nothing by any means, but similar units that have similar defense, I should say, would be I think the one that I usually see around 12k is the Lightning Guard. So if you think about a Lightning Guard, he's probably about as tanky as that, but you do have to account for the fact that he is going to get an additional 15% physical damage reduction from that. Magic resist is a touch under 10k, so on the lower end of that, but honestly, at these levels, I'm not really all that concerned about that because, you know, until you start getting up like over 20k for either of those values, it's really not making a huge difference. I mean, it does make a difference, but it's not making you tanky enough that you're going to be, the Demon Soldier is going to be hard to take down for the opposition. So something to keep in mind here. Speed is at 40, energy, which is the cost, is at 4, and you can make 2 deployments per attack with this unit. So you can only deploy twice, but you can certainly for 8 costs, you can deploy 2 at once, and that is kind of a devastating combo for sure. All right, I think that's it. I think that's all that we really need to know about this guy going in. Let's get to some testing. All right, so for the first test, I really just wanted to see if we couldn't figure out exactly what the priority is going to be as far as which platforms he will or will not attack. There is no healer in here, so nobody is going to be kept alive, meaning that 2 Garnet Guards should one-shot every unit that they throw anything at, with the exception of Brokir, obviously. But Boreas and Theowen and Pelagios and Anora, they all have gear on, but no stacked HP or anything like that. I don't think that any of these units have more than 20k HP, aside from Brokir, obviously, who's got like 115k or something like that. So, with that said, let's drop in a couple of Garnet Guards. Let's see who they prioritize and the order that they kind of take these units out. I imagine the first one is going to go on to Theowen right here, and we're going to just kind of keep an eye and see where they attack. Yeah, so double attacks on the Theowen. It's dead. Let's see. They did take out Boreas right there. But this is interesting. They just took a shot at Brokir right there, meaning that when they are in this spot right here, where I'm shaking a little Shaman shaking his ass, that is, I guess, means that the platform units where Anora is and where Pelagios are, that at that point they were not in range. So let's see. Next is going to be Pelagios. And then finally, they're going to take a shot at Anora. Yep. And then you can't see it here because everybody else is dead, obviously. But once they were blocked by Brokir, they would stop throwing any boulders at platform units, meaning that if you could keep everybody alive, or at least just the unit that was on this tile right here alive, that I don't believe that they would have killed anybody, right? So I think that that will likely be our next test, although, well, you know, before that, I do want to come and drop in, like shift this around just slightly, and we're going to see if we can't get an idea of if there's no units down below Brokir, when are they going to switch on to everybody else, and what order are they going to kill everybody in? I think it'll probably just go from right to left, but, you know, this is why we test things, right? I will be right back with that. All right, so I've shifted things around a little bit. I did drop one of the platform units. We've only got 3 here. We've got Pelagios up top. We've got Boreas and Anora on the tiles above the tank, and Ymirid over here. Ymirid is really just there as window dressing. He doesn't really need to be in there, but he's just filling some space. What I want to see here is how the Garnet Guards are going to prioritize things with no units down below. Now, the reason that you might see a defense deployed like this is because nobody wants to deploy. Let me see if I can click up here and make it a little bit clearer. Nobody wants to deploy on this tile right here where I've got the shaman kind of shaking his booty. So if you deploy there, then you are vulnerable to the rare archers and as well as the epic mages and some of the other units. So we did see some people kind of reluctant to deploy there, meaning that they did shift things kind of up above. Now, one of the negatives about this, obviously, is that the spot where Boreas is in right here, that is going to be vulnerable to bookkeepers. If the bookkeepers target the tank, they are going to hit Boreas as well. And so that's why it's not really ideal. You probably wouldn't want to deploy a damage dealer there. You probably want a healer with some HP percent built in sitting there. But, you know, we're not trying to keep people alive. We're just trying to see the priority of the attacks here. So dropping the Garnet Guards in. Let's see who they attack first. I think they're going to go for Boreas first. That's my prediction. I haven't done this. I'm doing this live. But you can see, again, they attacked Brokir first because there was no platform units in range. There we go. So they did hit Boreas first. Let's see. Are they going to take a shot? There's Pelagios. And now we're kind of in the same situation we saw in the previous test. There goes Anora. And they are going to just stick onto Brokir at this point. So that is another question answered. I don't know if there's any other range testing that we really need to do on the right-hand side, so I think I will shift over to the left-hand side. Let's go take a look at how he's going to prioritize targets on the left-hand side. All right, so left side defenses. I've set up the defense that, at least the positioning that I've seen most commonly on left side defenses. There aren't really a lot of other platform tiles that you're going to see units deployed on, and if you do see them deployed on anywhere over there, they're going to be vulnerable to other attacks. So I think this is that kind of the best test that we can do here to get an idea of which units are going to be hit. These are the supposed safe tiles from ranged attackers, right? You can't hit these, the Comet tile, the Ingrid tile, or the Lily tile right here with either the bookkeepers or the rare archers, the epic archers, any of that. So the question is, are the Garnet Guards going to change that? Are any of these tiles going to be unsafe when everybody does get Garnet Guards? So I'm going to drop in my double Garnet Guards. We're going to see if they hit anybody. I think they're probably going to hit Comet. I don't know if they're going to take any swings at Ingrid, but we'll speed up to 2 times speed just so we can get a little bit closer. I think they will initially start attacking Regulus more than likely because he's going to be in range before anybody else. There they go. You can see that little bullseye pop up on there. Let's see. Are they going to attack Comet over here? They are. So Comet goes down, but it looks like they are going to be stuck onto Regulus after that. So, you know, I did, just for full disclosure, I did a test earlier off camera where I did test a unit up in the position where I've got the Necro right here. It's not really an ideal spot, period. You know, you can take a hit at them with the range attackers, can take a swing at that tile when they do go by. There's also obviously Scourge and bombers that can impact that tile as well when there is a tank in the spot where Regulus is right now. So that is certainly something to keep in mind. But with the tank position right here, which I think is really the most logical place to position a tank over here, if you move the tank back at all, you're exposing some of these other tiles to attacks. So I think that generally speaking, that is going to be kind of the limit of the Garnet Guards in this position, is taking that swing at Comet on the left-hand side. I'm going to run one more test here, and I'm going to see if we don't have a unit deployed in that spot. I'll bring in another ground-based hero, and I'll remove Comet, and we're going to see if, given that, if there's any point where they're going to attack the Ingrid tile, just so we can kind of keep that in mind in case anybody wants to bring a second, or I guess a third, actually, ground-based unit over here to further eliminate the platforms. But one thing I will say is that because you are, like, just like on the front side, if you can stack somebody there that can resist the Garnet Guard damage, that can live through it, then you can focus all of the attention from the Garnet Guards onto that tile. And that tile I'm talking about is the one right here where I've got the Shaman sitting over here on the left-hand side. He's doing a little dance over there. If you can put a tanky CC champion there as bait for the Garnet Guards, completely takes them off the table. They're not going to do anything once they are just attacking the tank. So I will be right back with that other test. All right, so I did remove the Comet that was on the tile, 2 tiles to the left of where Regulus is right now. I am going to drop in double Garnet Guards here, put on 2 times speed, and get them to speed up, and we'll see if there's going to be a spot where they will, instead of, you know, now that there is no other unit there, is there a time when they are going to take a swing at the Ingrid unit, place 2 tiles below where Regulus is? Yep, there they go, and Ingrid goes down. So that is something to keep an eye on. Ingrid goes down. I think that you're going to want bait over here on the left-hand side, or in this spot, I guess. But I think that the spot where Ingrid was, where I've got the Shaman kind of shaking right here, that spot is where you really want to put your primary AoE damage dealer. So I don't think that you're going to want to use that as the bait spot. I think instead you're going to want to put some bait over here on the left-hand side. All right, so what we've got here is a pretty standard bottom lane defense. I'm going to test this and 2 other defensive setups that you're commonly going to see in Central Keeps. We're going to see where the Garnet guards are going to throw their rocks here. My guess is that Twin Fiend's going to get taken out down here, and I have put in units that aren't going to mess with the Garnet Guard's speed and aren't going to kill them. That's why I've got Ardea facing to the left. That's why Ingrid is facing to the left, so nobody's going to die. I've even got Carnelian facing to the left so that Carnelian doesn't end up trying to put any soul essences on anybody, but we're going to see a couple things here. There's a few questions that we need to answer. I am going to drop in the Garnet Guards. We're going to see, are they going to attack Twin Fiend? I assume they will. Are they going to attack Ingrid before they get stuck on Regulus? And are they going to attack Carnelian? Those are the questions that we need answered. So with that said, let's drop them in. We'll speed them up a little bit until we see them start to attack Regulus, and then we'll put it on 1x speed. There we go. And at some point, they are going to switch onto Twin Fiend. Not yet. So it's not. They're on the tile directly in front of Regulus right now. And look at that. Twin Fiend didn't even die. I think he's got some HP percent gear on right now because I do have him, I think, in his Guild Boss 2 build. So he's probably got somewhere around 30k HP, 35k HP. But double hit from them did not kill him. And now they are stuck onto Regulus. And I can say, just because I did this before and I had to go turn everybody else around, that they got walloped and destroyed by the Ardea and by the Ingrid. So bad news to everybody who thought that this kind of defense was going to get pummeled by the Garnet Guards. Not the case based on what I am seeing. I'm going to shift things around. We're going to try a different defense, or a couple different defenses. We're going to see if any of them are vulnerable to the Garnet Guard. So actually, on second thought, I decided to move Twin Fiend out of this tile. He was down here previously, and I decided to move him back because I just want to see if there is nobody there, will the Garnet Guards actually attack Carnelian or Ingrid? I don't believe so, but I do want to just verify that, because if they're just going to stick straight onto Regulus, then you could completely avoid anybody getting targeted by these guys by just not having somebody in that tile. Now, that's not ideal, obviously, but it is a workaround, and it is something that we should kind of have in our bag of tricks just to make sure that we aren't vulnerable. If you can structure a defense like that and it is functional that way, then hell, why not? So still on Regulus, and now they're just meleeing Regulus. So that is a big old no. This bottom lane defense is not going to be all that vulnerable to the Garnet Guards based on what I'm seeing right here. Now if you take down the tank, then everybody else is vulnerable, but you don't need to worry. The whole point of the Garnet Guards is to avoid attacking the ground units. And since when they do get locked onto a ground-based unit, they don't actually change, it really diminishes their effectiveness. So it'd be one thing if they were sitting right here pounding on Regulus and they were, or not pounding on Regulus, just standing there getting pounded on by Regulus, and then they were tossing their rocks at some of these other units, but that is not the case. So this does seem like a relatively safe defense. I will be back with the next test. All right, so this is another somewhat common defense that we will see. I feel like this kind of came into vogue maybe in the second half of Season 4. We started seeing defenses like this. Now, I think I've got the placement somewhat right on here. Typically, you see somebody over here. I think sometimes you see the Ymir tile actually move back one. But I think for our purposes here, because we're not worried about the ground units, I'm not really all that worried about where he is. The question really is, will Lily and will Comet get hit? I think without question, we're going to see Dahlia get hit, but we're gonna give it some testing. We're gonna see how that works out. So let's toss a couple of Garnet Guards in. Let's see what happens. Let's give it a good old college try. So here they go. Are they gonna lock onto Torador first? Yep, they're gonna go onto Torador first. I think they're gonna turn and target Lily though in a second, would be my guess. No, they're still on Torador. There we go. Now they killed the Dahlia tile, which is important. That's often where somebody will have a CC unit like a Mari or something like that. They didn't kill anybody else though. All right, I'm gonna go and remove where Dahlia, put her in a tile further up. We're gonna see if they're gonna attack either Lily or Comet, and then I think that's gonna be it for this defense in particular. I will be right back with that. All right, so we are back in. I've moved Dahlia up to this spot over here, so she is not going to come into play here. We're going to see whether or not the Garnet guards are going to target either Lily or Comet. I think they're probably going to target Lily with the with Dahlia removed, but the question is whether they'll target Comet too. I don't think they will, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I think the Comet is actually going to be outside of their range until they are on Torador here. There we go. So there's some attacks. There's one attack on Lily. She would have died, but she saved herself, obviously. So whoever's in that spot, so long as they've got some kind of fatal protection thing, then I don't think it's really an issue. They just need to survive the one hit from those two. So, yeah, that is something. Really, I gotta say, I've been a little disappointed with these guys. We were all talking about how they were going to change the way the defenses were run. There's really not that many spots that they're really impacting all that much where we were deploying units. There are spots that are vulnerable to them, but there were spots that were also vulnerable to other things where we weren't deploying units anyway. So, I don't know. I'll be back with the last defense. I want to test one that is set up all around the Soul Crystal. Let's see if that has any impact. All right, so this is going to be the final test of the night. There is not really a whole lot of movement between what we, as far as positioning is concerned, with a defense like this in front of the Soul Crystal on what was formerly the tower map, but is now the Central Keep map. So what we've got here, Regulus out front. We've got Ardea in here. Now, obviously, in a real defense, this could potentially be a second tank. It could be a Constance. It could be, Valderon or something like that, sitting in kind of as a second row of block on the ground right here. But then we've got 3 units in these 3 tiles in the upper left-hand corner. There's really not a whole lot of variation in here. The reason being that if you were to put somebody on one of the lower tiles down below, they would immediately become vulnerable to getting attacked by archers or by bookkeepers. You wouldn't need, specialized target priority via the Garnet Guard in order to take out those units. So I'm not going to test those spots because obviously the Garnet Guards are going to hit them. But I do want to see who among these 3 platform tiles in the upper left-hand corner are going to take the shots and what order they're going to take shots in. I imagine that Ingrid, at the very least, is going to take some shots. I'm certain Hollow will as well, but the question is, how many shots are they going to take before the Garnet Guard gets stuck onto Regulus, which really does seem to be kind of the weakness of this unit, as much as, like, they're cool idea, but I just don't get why they, well, I guess it would be overpowered if they didn't start hitting the tank when they got into melee range. There goes Ingrid. So on this tile, 2 tiles down from where Ingrid was, or 3 tiles down from where Ingrid was, we see Hollow taking some hits as well, but not until they got in front of Regulus. And this Hollow, who is not in any kind of HP % gear, it's mostly healing effect and rage regen, was completely fine against Garnet Guards affiliated at 114k. She took 1 hit like a champ. Twin Fiend sitting up here in this spot did not get touched, period. So again, kind of minor impact here. I think if you build whoever is in this spot, or maybe you just put the healer there and put a couple of pieces of HP % gear on this spot where Ingrid was, where I'm shaking the shaman's booty, that is a spot that, you got to worry about taking a couple shots from. But other than that, it's really not that much. I gotta say, kind of disappointed with these Garnet Guards. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the testing. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed with this unit. You let me know what you think in the comments. How do you feel about what you did see in this video? I thought that this was a Demon Soldier that we all thought was going to kind of change the way that we had to do defenses in this game mode, and that does not seem to be the case. I think in future seasons, maybe with some different maps, that might be the case. But the maps that they're using right now, the only tiles that are really, really kind of vulnerable to this unit are ones that we were already kind of planning contingencies around, right? So I think that the few tiles that are vulnerable, you can very easily solve that by stacking HP on a CC champion like a Mari or a Theowen or something like that. I didn't show it, but I did do a little bit of testing as far as whether or not I could keep one of those epic CC champions alive. I used Mari. I stacked about 35k HP on her, not even in Guardian gear. Still had her up around 700 attack speed with over 100% rage regen, and it was relatively easy to keep her up with a Lily. Now, she did proc the thorny protection that Lily does have, so it's not going to work with every healer, but given that there was a lot more room to go, I still had her in an attack speed neck. I didn't have her in Guardian gear. If I wanted to make her tankier, I certainly could have. I don't think that the Garnet guard is going to be somebody that is going to be used all that much this season, at least not in high-level GvG. I think if people don't put their defenses together correctly and they deploy on vulnerable tiles, then certainly you can take advantage of that. But at least in Overlord GvG, I think those opportunities are going to go away in the next 2, maybe 3 weeks at the most, because everybody's going to learn that if you don't plan for it, if you deploy on some of these tiles that I showed you in this testing right here, that you are going to get sniped. And that having your defense wiped out makes people learn real quick. So I would take advantage of it while you can. Maybe we find another use for him later on. Maybe I missed something here. Honestly, you know, if you think that there's something that I did not show here that you did want to see, please do let me know, and I will go back and see if I can't fix it. Follow up with this, or at least post a pinned comment at the top of here and clarify what I did miss. But yeah, that is my take based on my testing. In any case, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy this content. I will catch you all next time.